Yes. Oh, one of the best leaders I ever worked for, his phrase was, "You have to do the work for the customer. Do the work for the customer." That
Yeah.
means like oftentimes in like a complex sale, right? I'll come out of a call with a customer and we'll both have action items. I need to do A, B, C, and D. They need to do D, E, and F, right? They need to go figure out, okay, how are they going to set this landing page up on their website, right? Because they need to do that. We're going to host content there, etc. Most 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 of the time, we both come away with a punch list of action items. It's my responsibility then
Yep.
to do the work for the customer and recap. Even if I'm not the one who's going to carry out that action item, I need to in that recap email that I send, I'm saying, hey, and here are the things that you said you were going to take care of, and I project manage my buyer almost. Now that's not me being like, I don't know, an annoying, hassling sales rep, but I'm saying like, hey, you said you were going to do these things. I'm going to help make sure that these stay top of mind in front, like front and center for you. You don't have to worry about your to-do list. I'm going to help you with your to-do list. And so the job of the salesperson is do the work for the buyer. Oftentimes in complex sales, that's why people get ghosted, because if you think about there's a lot of I don't know, thought leadership out there about the close to no decision. Why a lot of deals just they fall apart, they don't make a decision. Part of the reason for that is sellers,
Over
right?
50%.
Well,
Over
sellers don't do the
50%. Over
work for the buyer.
50%.
And what happens is not only
Yep.
are you asking the other person to spend money, you're also asking them to spend their time, which is their most valuable resource. And if you as the salesperson can make it as
You are asking them
yes,
to do
yes, but if
work.
you do the work, now all you have to do is ask for the money. If you're aligned on the outcome that both of that you're going to help them achieve, right? You understand the outcome that they are looking for. Your thing can help with that outcome. Well, then really the only thing standing in between where they are today and where you can help them get is them signing a contract, right? And sending you the money. If you can do all of the work in between, right, to help them get to that understanding, when you put the onus on the other person, when you ask them to have to think about why would be looking at a proposal be to my benefit, that's a pretty straightforward one. But I once was selling ERP software and we do like 6 or 7 demos. Okay. And the customer would see demo one and they feel like they had a pretty good sense of what the product could do. And then we'd do some more discovery. We'd understand all the different things they'd want to do. And we'd understand that if we showed them more demos, they would have a better understanding of how they could solve their problem. And then ultimately, when they got to the implementation side of things, they'd have a better experience. But I would have to explain to them, hey, you mentioned to me on our call 2 weeks ago, one of the things that you're frustrated with is this. In our last demo, we did not show you how to address this. Usually, when folks are struggling with their AP reporting, they want to see our AP optimization module because of how it helps with this. Is that something that you're still interested in solving? Instead of what most sellers are going to say, I would love to show you a demo of our AP optimization module. You're asking the buyer now to remember a
Yeah.
problem that they voiced two
Well,
weeks ago that they might not even remember. Do the work for the customer.
well, and then so there's two things there. Like the first thing is like a week in a
Yeah.
week in business is like
Yes.
an eternity, man. Like what you what you and I talked about last week, Nick. I don't know when we met, but it's probably an eternity ago. But whatever you said to me last week, if it was even leading to, I don't remember it, right? So like, there's that part. The other part is the work, and there's the work that you're requiring your customer to do, but then there's the work that you need to do. And let's talk
Yeah.
about that because I said let's go back to it. At the end of the day, there's this whole movement around, um, you know, less is more, quality over quantity, um, the 4-day work week versus whatever. Like how do you? You're like, look, work has to be a table stake in this equation. My guess is, and maybe I'm wrong here, but you and Armand came up with this idea of coming up with this, a value based podcast. I don't know, a couple years ago, and you guys haven't done any work, right, to like get to where you're at. Like you didn't do anything. You just show up and interview people. Is that right? I mean, like you just like came up with the idea and now you guys just get it done, or was there some was there something
Yeah,
that happened in between
yeah.
there?
Let's
Like
talk
let's
about
talk
it.
about
Let's talk
that for a
about it.
second, right? People forget about work, and I think you and I understand this. I mean, you're a much more prestigious wrestler than I was. I was just like up through high school. You're a college wrestler, but like wrestling, we have this in our fucking DNA. Excuse my French, but like, we have this like you get on a mat with somebody, like you had better put in the work because otherwise you're gonna
Yeah.
get
I mean, Ryan, it's why
embarrassed,
I
right? But most people don't. Most people don't understand that.
that's why
Most
I
people don't
still coach
understand this.
wrestling now. I
You don't just
coach
show up.
wrestling now, and I still like I'm been working with a college team, and I get on the mat with these college guys with the intent of like I want to get punched in the face and I want to get the black eye because like it makes everything else seem much easier by comparison. Um, I subscribe to the notion that my high school wrestling coach said on the first day of practice of my first day ever in the wrestling room. We walked in. I'm nervous. Everyone's nervous, but we're all a little excited. We walk in. We get in a circle. He stands up. He's got his practice plan in front of him, his whistle around his neck. We're ready. It's hot. It's muggy. Start of the season. And he looks at the team and he says, if you want to be a great wrestler, you have to be disciplined. And then he said, the definition of
Yeah.
discipline is doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it. And Ryan, that is still ingrained
Yes.
into my brain. And I resent it sometimes because it forces me to do the hard work. It forces me because I hear his voice in my head, but it's true. Discipline is doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it. And if you want to be successful in anything, you have to have that discipline. So yeah, I mean, look, I think work ethic is it's a table stake. That said, I think some people like so let me address a couple things related to work ethic. There's people who talk about smart work versus hard work, and it's another wrestling thing. It's hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard is the wrestling quote. But the way that
Yeah.
I sort of think about that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
what I don't think people should do is just close their eyes and kick and fail to look for a better way to do things, right?
Well,
And
that's yeah, well, let's be honest, that's
well,
table
right, it
stakes too
is.
though,
Yeah,
right?
but
Like
you know,
that's the funny part. That's the funny part of the argument. It's like,
well,
well, yeah, no
correct. Of
shit.
course, people like
Like
no. I don't think anyone who like rises above a certain level isn't looking for the smarter way to do things. And so what happens is like
right.
I think I don't know. Folks want to be in this like rested, relaxed, sort of easy mode, and that's not the reality of things. However, here's something that I would consider is one, you should build it systematically into your life a process for identifying areas of improvement or efficiency in the things that you have to do. The way that I do this is every single night before I go to bed, I write in a journal, in a spiral notebook like this. And every single night, one of the things that I do is I force myself to write down a learning. And I phrase it that way intentionally, a learning. I used to write a redo or do over. And the whole idea is I try to write down something that
Ah,
if I had a do over that
ah.
day,
Hold on,
yeah.
address that for a
Well,
second because that's important too. Why do you call it learning versus
well,
a do
I
over or
think
whatever? There's something there.
yeah, a
There's something
do-over
important there.
forced me to look for like so the way that I originally sort of conceived of this was like, okay, I want to consistently be on the lookout for areas of improvement. And so what I do is, I
Yeah.
mean, what I will do is I'll look and I'll say, hey, if I had a do-over in this day, what would I do differently? And I would always find something. But part of the reason that I changed it to learning is I don't know. I'm a big believer in the idea of like framing or reframing, where it's like whatever happens to me was the
Yeah.
best thing in the world that could have happened to me. I lost that deal. That's the best thing that could have happened to me. So
Yes.
I changed it to learning because I don't necessarily want to do over my mistakes. I just want to learn from them and improve going forward.
Yes.
Um, but it is,
Yeah,
it
that's
is the
important.
words we
That's
use
important.
matter.
Yeah.
But so anyways the process here is every single night before I go to bed I will write a learning, and so at the end of the year I have 365 learnings. And so what happens is there's this incremental improvement in my life versus me um saying, oh man, I'm working too much, let me just sit down and like assess my workflow, which like there's this, it's like I'm going to get in shape this year. No, I'm going to take tiny steps every single day to improve. So we're talking about hard work versus smart work. That is a way that you can actually create a rhythm and routine for infusing your life with smart work. The other thing that I think people sometimes screw up when they think about hard work is just because I can do something doesn't mean I should be doing it. I don't know if I emphasized the right words there, but what I mean by this
Ooh,
is when we launched our
no.
podcast, Armand and I made the decision from day one that we were not going to be the ones to do like the mixing and mastering and editing of it. We decided we were going to pay somebody else to do that. The reason for it was, I don't know, it cost us $150, I think, an episode for someone to mix, master, and get the thing ready for publishing. And we could have done that. But what we identified was there were a lot other bigger levers that we could pull with our time. And so what we've tried to do is reallocate that time, a couple hours a week that we would spend editing the podcast, into promoting the podcast or booking higher quality guests. And so one area I think people screw up when they think about hard work is they think that means they have to do everything. They need to just close their eyes and get it all done. They almost take pride in, oh man, it's Sunday morning and I'm editing my podcast. Okay, well, like, don't confuse being dumb with hard work. Now, had we been in a totally different financial position, we might have had to do that, but we weren't. Um, and so I think about it a lot. Like, there's things that I have to do that are hard. Um, but I wouldn't confuse like the areas of high leverage with the things that you should be outsourcing and getting off of your plate. So there's a lot of thoughts that I have around work, but they all boil down really to like the definition of discipline, which is doing what I don't want to do when I don't want to do it. And then thinking about like, should I be doing this thing or should somebody else be doing that thing? Because I'm at a place where I can pay somebody else to do that thing. Now I should go take that time and invest it in something else.